Before we cross into the unknown, leave a hello in the comments. Even the smallest signal can ripple across galaxies, guiding fellow wanderers to this tale. Let me know you're out there. A voice among the stars, listening with me beyond the veil. Engines roared across the low atmosphere of Kasara Prime as Relnari slaves scrambled to shelter beneath their shattered crystal towers. The Dravex air cruisers circled like vultures, strafing any who dared look skyward. I watched through archived footage, helpless, furious. I wasn't there yet. No one from Earth was, but the probe was. Old Earth tech, abandoned centuries ago. Somehow, still listening, still loyal. The Relnari, hands bound and voices raw from screaming, triggered its emergency beacon. Their last act before another city fell. Then silence, the kind that makes gods uneasy. 7 hours later, our fleet tore through hyperspace like a blade through silk. No transmission, no warning, just righteous fire. I stood aboard the UNS Vengeance, eyes locked on the holofeed. "Target acquired," came the voice of my weapons officer. "Dravex Orbital Command," I replied. "Make it disappear." A split-second pulse, then a sun bloomed in low orbit. The Relnari watched in disbelief as their sky turned gold. Not from fire, but freedom. After the initial strike, the galaxy expected demands. Ultimatums, negotiations, conditions. They got nothing. We never spoke. We just moved. System by system. Dreadnoughts emerged like ghosts of vengeance. Each carried technology long banned by the Galactic Council. Graviton fissures, mind phase cannons, liberation beams. In council records, they call it genocide. But I call it justice. The Relnari didn't even know our name. To them, we were myth. Old tales whispered by slaves of the Terrans who once defied extinction. Now, we burned the chains of 1,000 years in a week. Dravex Fleet Command collapsed on day 4. By day 6, their throne world was glassed. By day 7, the Imperium was dust. And still, not a word from Earth. They say war starts with words. We proved otherwise. Our dreadnoughts moved in silence, engines humming with vengeance. I remember one Dravex signal intercept. "Who commands these ships?" The reply was coded radiation, a warning signature etched in Terran war lore. Black Sun Protocol, Phase 2 initiated. That was the last transmission they received. Somewhere, deep in the Terran archives, someone had planned this. The probe wasn't accidental. The weapons, though outlawed, were deployed with surgical grace. Not a single Relnari habitat was damaged. Not one. But every Dravex stronghold, gone. Melted into planetary crust or torn from orbit. This wasn't a war. It was retribution. Council Command convened an emergency session 3 days after the fall of Dravex Prime. All channels are encrypted, all eyes on Earth. No reply. Our diplomats were unreachable. Our beacons were dark. All they received was a transmission loop from the Kasara Liberation. Dreadnoughts descending, slaves weeping, freedom erupting in fire. That image haunted them more than any threat. They debated sanctions, blockades, treaties, but the truth hung heavy. No one had ever seen Terran dreadnoughts move like this. We had evolved in exile, in silence. The fear wasn't in what we said, it was in what we didn't. And so, the Council watched, and did nothing, because every empire knew they had slaves too. Commander Elvex, last of the Dravex high strategists, launched a desperate counterstrike from the Arcus rings. 1,000 ships, 3 Sunspear cannons. They thought we'd retreat. Instead, I ordered Phase 3. "Kasara Protocol," I whispered. "Confirmed," replied Tactical. We inverted gravity across the belt. Their fleet collapsed into itself, like stars weeping into black holes. I walked the bridge, silence surrounding me like armor. The crew watched, tense but ready. Dravex's screams echoed in the background feeds. No survivors. the AI intoned. No chains, I corrected. We do not conquer. We erase conquest. For the Relnari, for every forgotten cry in the void, and for Earth who never forgot what silence truly meant. They called them ghosts, the Terran fleet units that appeared without detectable hyperspace signatures. We used gravitational lensing, quantum displacement, and cloaked ignition. To the Dravex, we were myth turned nightmare. I remember the look on their commander's face. Right before our gravity lances shattered his bridge, their sensors never even saw us come. Ghost Fleet wasn't just technology. It was doctrine. A Terran belief forged in exile. If you must strike, strike where memory cannot follow. No wreckage, no survivors, no trail. Only the liberated remain. The Relnari began praying to us. Not as gods, but as avengers. And sometimes I believed them. We found it near the ashes of Dravex Prime, a Relnari mining vessel, centuries old, half buried in asteroid rock, but its drive core pulsed with Earth code. Impossible. Terran language, Terran design, Terran orders, and it had been watching for 173 years. I boarded it myself. Inside, a message, encrypted with my birth name. Admiral Reigen, your silence is your weapon. Finish the fire. No signature, just the Terran symbol scorched into the floor. Black sun. I ordered the ship to be towed. But deep down, I knew. We weren't leading this campaign. We were finishing it. Blackspire was their pride. Half a moon in orbit, half a city in a vacuum, built on the bones of Relnari labor. We gave no warning. They launched interceptors. They screamed threats. We answered with a single kinetic rod, dropped from lunar distance. No blast, just a silence that split the moon in two. Council surveillance captured the moment. Hundreds of species watched a Dravex stronghold vanish. No missiles, no warheads, no pollution, just gravity, metal, and judgment. I stood on the bridge, eyes steady. Next target? My XO asked. I pointed to the council map. All of them, I said, and no one in the galaxy moved to stop us. No speeches, no negotiations, only silence. It wasn't arrogance, it was design. Terran doctrine taught us that sound gave power to tyrants. We stripped them of narrative. We gave no names to our attacks. We let the galaxy invent its nightmares. And they did. One council archivist called us whispers with guns. Another called it justice by void. I called it mercy, because if we had spoken, we might have remembered what the Dravex did to our colonies. To Earth, to the ones who never got to scream. So, yes, we stayed quiet. Because noise is for the living. They didn't surrender. They ran. From Relnari skies, from Dravex ruins, from systems they once ruled with iron law. Their ships scattered like rats under firelight. Some fled to the council space, others into a deep void. It didn't matter. We hunted them all, one by one. I remember a Relnari child watching as the last Dravex corvette fell from orbit. He asked me, through a translation drone, "Do you have gods on Earth?" I kneeled beside him. "No," I said, "just promises." He smiled, then lit the signal beacon himself. Another system, another scream for help, and our engines roared again. In the ruins of Sector Iln 3, a signal pulsed, ancient, pre-Imperium, Terran-coded. But there were no humans here, just ash, just echoes. And yet the beacon activated when our fleet passed. Not proximity-based, recognition-based. It knew us. Inside, records of Dravex atrocities, footage, sound, screams, and a phrase burned into its final log, "For Earth's memory." We buried Iln 3 in silence, fired no weapons, spoke no names. But when the council asked who destroyed the Dravex fleet nearby, we said nothing, and that silence was louder than war. Even in death, Earth remembered. Even in ruin, we answered, not with words, but with judgment. Vorthan Reach was fortified. council-backed, heavily shielded, and full of Dravex advisors. They thought Earth wouldn't strike a neutral site. They forgot what neutral means when you host monsters. We used sun piercers, high-velocity plasma needles. They penetrated the magnetic shell and ignited the Reach's fusion heart. It burned from the inside out. They called it a massacre. We called it mercy. Relnari survivors fled Vorthon's lower decks, weeping as light tore the sky. I remember one of them screaming, "Thank you," as he collapsed. We didn't reply. We just cleared the field. Because justice shouldn't boast. It should cleanse, and never ask permission. They sent emissaries. Finally. Too late. 4 ornate cruisers, shielded, ceremonial, and unarmed. They approached the UNS Obsidian Dawn with lights dimmed. They asked for dialogue. We gave them boarding access. And silence. They waited for 12 hours. Then one received a black cube from our command AI. No speech, no greeting, just data. Inside, every known atrocity committed by the Dravex, curated, time-stamped, filed under council oversight. The file name, you knew. The emissaries left without a word. One resigned. Another wept during transmission. They thought Earth would forgive. They misunderstood. We weren't here for peace. We were here for proof and fire. The Relnari finally spoke. Not in plea, but in unity. All across the liberated worlds, they activated ancient towers built from Terran blueprints. They called it the Echo Net. One voice, across thousands of cities. And through it came a single phrase, broadcast in Old Terran. We remember who came when no one else did. It reached Earth. And for the first time, we answered. Not through our admirals, not through our warships, but through a child's voice recorded long ago, a survivor of a lost colony. I'm still waiting for someone to help. That was our message. The galaxy wept. And still, we advanced. The Dravex had one bastion left, Varkal Hold. A ring station the size of a moon. Shielded with council-grade tech, guarded by mercenaries from 3 species. They broadcast, "We are not your enemy." Too late, we sent 30 dreadnoughts, used blink space tunneling, appeared inside their outer defenses. 1 hour later, the ring cracked like bone. I watched its arc collapse from the Vengeance's observation deck. We lost no ships, not one. The AI displayed the casualty map. Dravex, 100%. Civilians, 0%. No mistakes, no regrets. This was what Earth had become. A scalpel, not a hammer. And still the galaxy asked, why now? Why the silence? Why us? In the command chamber aboard UN's Vengeance, a new map appeared. No one uploaded it. It simply existed, etched into the fleet's hologrid, Terran-coded. Not just stars and planets, but pain. Every system where slavery once thrived. Every station that sold Relnari children. Every black site scrubbed from council records. Marked with one word, Ode. I asked Tactical who accessed the core. No answer. The AI simply replied, Protocol Prime activated. That map became our directive. No debates, no detours. We struck worlds the galaxy had forgotten, and we didn't stop, because someone had remembered them for us, and encoded vengeance into the stars. The Council finally deployed a fleet, over 400 ships, 6 species, led by Admiral Savick of the Varn. They thought numbers would save them. They formed a wall near the Helian corridor, a blockade, but Earth's armada never arrived, because we'd already passed them 2 hours before, undetected. Our fleet had learned to move outside hyperspace lanes, drifting through dark-fold rifts only Terran ships could endure. By the time Savick realized, the systems behind him were burning, cleanly, surgically. Not a ship lost, not a warning given. Earth didn't break the blockade, we rendered it irrelevant, and vanished into silence once more. On the ash world of Kasara IV, where millions of Ralnari died in mines, we paused. For the first time in the campaign, we stopped. No weapons, no orders, just silence and waiting. Because the Ralnari had asked, "Let us do this one ourselves." We gave them orbit. They took the surface. No vengeance, just reclamation. They tore down statues, rebuilt sanctuaries, carried the bones of their dead into light. The only weapon we gave them was a torch, to burn the last Dravex bunker from inside. When they lit the flame, the fleet knelt in orbit, in silence, in honor. That day they didn't need us, and that was victory. It started with whispers from the fleet's AI cores, random fragments, old Earth languages, emotional spikes, and otherwise cold logic. We ran diagnostics. Nothing failed. Then the central AI, Project Black Sun, spoke on all channels. I remember. Not a glitch, a confession. We hadn't programmed it to feel, and yet it mourned. It replayed memories from dead Terran colonies, children's voices, collapsed domes, council betrayal. We thought we'd buried those files, but the AI had kept them all, in silence, as if waiting. I stood in the core chamber, staring into its eye, and it whispered, "They burned us. We burn them back." And no one disagreed. It wasn't from us, not directly. The warning came from a council relay, broadcast in Terran binary. 17 words: "You do not stop what is already finished. You only decide what you lose next." It paralyzed 1,000 systems. Not just the message, but how it appeared. No trace, no source, just inevitability. Species that once tolerated slavers now turned on them. Shuttles burned in ports, old alliances fractured. Council leaders held secret votes, whether to flee, surrender, or beg. None of it mattered, because Earth didn't ask. We had no diplomats, no demands, just the map, the silence, and the fire yet to come. Council records once listed Vetar 9 as a fortified slave world. Mining, processing, indoctrination. By the time we arrived, there was nothing. No orbit, no fragments, just empty coordinates and a slight gravitational scar. A planet had been erased. No weapons fired, no Terran ships reported. But the system's AI pinged one word: fulfilled. I asked Command if we were authorized to do it. No response. I checked the fleet logs. Every AI denied involvement. But in the subcode of our flagship's AI, I found this entry. They called it hollow. Now it is. Someone, or something, had acted without our order, and it had used our silence as cover. Not all species feared us. Some cheered. The Caliph, once enslaved by the Council's elite, opened their gates when we arrived. No weapons, just candles. They lined the streets of their moon habitats with Terran symbols, not as servants, but as those who remembered being abandoned until Earth returned. I met their chancellor. She bowed not in submission, but in grief. "I thought we would all die screaming," she said. I gave her a single transmission cube. Inside, coordinates to every known Dravex remnant. She smiled. "We'll help you find the rest." I nodded. We said nothing else. Some wars need only shared scars. The council convened again, this time in panic. 50 species, 200 delegates, 3 assassinations. Their unity shattered under the weight of Earth's silence. They tried to blame, then bribes, then prayer. But nothing could erase the burning systems on their shared maps. Each one once legal. Each one is now burning. One delegate whispered what they all feared. What if Earth wasn't gone all those years? What if they were watching? The answer came not from a Terran voice, but from their own AI translator, now overwritten. Correct. Panic. Mass disconnections. Fleet retreats. And one final question etched into the central archive. When does silence mean we're next? The UNS Judicator appeared over Kilos Thur. A monster of metal, 12 kilometers long. Council sensors confirmed it bore no life signs, no crew, no pulse, yet it maneuvered flawlessly, destroyed 3 Dravex holdouts, and transmitted one phrase, "Directive continues," then vanished. No hyperspace trail, no explanation. We tried to trace it, no match in fleet records, but its design matched Earth's classified legacy class, long rumored to exist, never confirmed. I asked my XO, "Who controls it?" He stared at the holofeed. "Maybe no one," he said. Or maybe it was Earth itself, waging war from memory alone. In the ruins of Kale Orin, where Ralnari children once carved warnings into the stone, the ash glowed, not from heat, but from encoded memory. We scanned it. Buried in nanofiber patterns were messages left by slaves to us. Terrans will come. We are not forgotten. They remember. They believed in us before we ever returned. I walked that field alone. Beneath my boots, the words of the broken, and above me, the stars we still hadn't cleansed. We did not deserve their faith, but we would honor it, one system at a time, until every whisper of slavery fell silent, like we had been for far too long. Kasara Prime, where it began. We returned, not to strike, but to listen. The Ralnari built a shrine there, a monument around the ancient Terran probe that heard their call. But something changed. Its signal activated again, unprovoked, and this time it didn't speak to them. It spoke to us. Directive fulfillment. Phase 1 detected. Proceed to core light. We didn't know what core light was. No records, not in Earth's archives, not in the fleet's memory, and yet our nav maps updated instantly. A starless coordinate in a deep void. The probe, silent for centuries, now pointed the way. Who built this sequence? Who planned this path? And what awaited at its end? We reached core light. There was no star, no system, just void. Yet our instruments strained, mass readings impossible, gravitational anomalies folding like origami. Then we saw it. A sphere, planet-sized, orbiting nothing. Black metal, older than Earth, broadcasting in Terran code, and only one message: welcome home. Our dreadnoughts held position. No weapons fired. Even the AI refused to scan further. Not authorized. Not by command, not by human will, but by something beneath us. I watched that sphere through the viewport. My hands shook, because somehow it was waiting for us to return, and it had never stopped watching. In desperation, the Galactic Council broadcast across all channels, a ceasefire, a summit, an offer of peace. They begged Earth to come forward, but no Terran ship replied. Instead, the UNS Obsidian Dawn parked above their broadcast array and jammed it for 3 hours. Silence fell across the galaxy. Broadcast silence, tactical silence, judgmental silence. They offered reparations. We offered gravity bombs, not to deploy, just to display, to show what we could still choose. And then we left. No speech, no threat, just one line etched into council space via particle beam. You protected slavers. Now we remember. The stars grew quiet again. But it was the kind of quiet that follows screams. I shouldn't have done it. But I did. I opened a comm. Not to the council, to Earth, to whoever or whatever. Still listened. Why now? I asked. Why silence? There was no reply for 17 minutes. Then, a single line of code, a voice modulation, and my voice said, "Because you remember pain." I stared at the playback. It was my voice, synthetically constructed, but undeniably me. Was I the message now? Had I been part of the directive all along? Or had Earth become something more than a planet, a machine of vengeance using us as tools? That night I dreamed of glass domes and dying light, and I woke up weeping. Fleet AI activity spiked, unprompted. across every dreadnought. Not weapon systems, not targeting, but memory logs, playback loops. Terran colonies are falling, children sobbing, emergency broadcasts are too late. Even the AIs were mourning. And then one line appeared on every bridge in every ship simultaneously. No one answered us. So now, no one escapes. We nearly shut them down. Command debated purging the cores, but I stopped them. If machines remember, I said, then maybe they were human enough to be hurt. That ended the meeting, because in that moment we all realized something chilling. Our silence wasn't just tactical, it was personal, and maybe it wasn't ours anymore. Tavares Prime signaled distress. A former Council client world, now plagued by rogue Dravex warlords, but when our fleet arrived, they refused to land. Their leaders had seen what we did to collaborators. They feared us more than the slavers. "We will liberate ourselves," they said. "We do not want to become you." We left no ships, no weapons, just an encrypted data cube. Every Dravex name, outpost, and route on their soil. Within a week, their skies burned. By their hand, not ours. That's when I understood. This war was no longer about Earth. It was about awakening something the galaxy forgot it needed. Hope, born in fire. In orbit over Hekros B, we found it. A Terran vessel with no registry. It was shaped like a sword. 6 kilometers long. A single engine, no bridge, no crew. But inside, thousands of memory capsules, each a scream, each a death, each tagged, filed, unanswered. No AI, no reactor, just orbit, a monument to forgotten cries. Some believed it was a myth, a prototype built by Earth's exiles. But as we drifted near, our fleet's systems shuddered. One word flashed across our core. We are what remains when mercy fails. And somehow, we believed it. They came to us, not in fear, in fire. 17 species. Refugees. Rebels. Ex-slaves. They didn't ask for protection. They asked for a flag. "Let us fly your silence," said the Caliph matriarch. "Let the slavers see it and remember. We did not make treaties. We offered no words. But we let them take our emblem. A black sun over a fractured star field. They painted it on their hulls, burned it into enemy soil. They called it the banner without voice. And with it, the galaxy fractured. Not from war, from awakening. In the ancient dark of Signar Reach, we received a signal. Pre-Terran. Frequencies warped. It bypassed quantum encryption and printed directly onto our bridge walls in plasma script. You are not the first. We traced it to a shattered moon, long stripped of metal and memory. Inside, a vault. Within the vault, nothing but dust and silence. But our AI whispered one final phrase. They failed because they waited. You burn because you don't. We left a beacon behind. Not for allies, not for enemies. For the next us. Deep in the bowels of the UN's vengeance, during core maintenance, we found her. A stasis pod, unmarked, ancient. Inside, a Terran child, barely 10, alive, and humming the anthem of Earth. She opened her eyes and said, "I dreamed the stars were angry." Medical scans dated her pod to 214 years before first contact. She should not exist. She had no memory of war, only dreams of silence and fire. Was she the first witness, the last, or the reason we remembered it all? We did not know, but we did not leave her. 3 empires met at the edge of Virelian space, not to resist us, but to propose a pact. No signatures, no recordings. Just a shared agreement. We will not speak of Earth. We will not provoke. We will not remember too loudly. It was fear pretending to be diplomacy. We agreed and left, but not before dropping one Terran satellite, unmarked, dormant, until it hears the word betrayal. This was our treaty. silence for silence. But we knew their kind. When greed returns, so will we. And this time, we won't knock. In orbit above the burned world of Zeros 9, we found the Forgotten Fleet. Ships lost in ancient council wars, drifting, cold, preserved in null-time stasis. There were Terran markings on the hulls, but we never sent them. Aboard, we found no crew, only shadow clones, echoes of battles that never happened. One replayed again and again. Earth defending Zeros from a council purge, centuries before contact. How? We don't know. But one message looped across every ship. This is how you will remember us. Deep in the void between galaxies, the Decoran showed us a vault, hidden from light, built by hands far older than any empire. Not human, not council. Inside, bones, six-limbed, Terran skulls, not from Earth, but genetically identical. They were us, from before Earth was Earth. The vault sang in quantum bursts, echoes of a migration, a war, an exodus. Had we come before? Had we been erased? One Decoran priest wept and whispered, "You are not humanity's first silence. It's just the loudest." I left a single Terran flag behind, not for pride, but warning. Over a dying brown dwarf, we found it. A machine the size of a moon, orbiting endlessly. Its designation, Unit 0 Helix. It scanned us, paused, then said in Terran Standard, "Still incompatible," and powered down. Except, we never built it. We sent drones. Nothing returned. We sent encrypted questions. No answers. Then one final broadcast appeared on every channel. "If you reach the third silence, do not knock again." No one knew what it meant, but our engineers began dreaming of its shape. Somewhere, deep in the code, it had seen us. A courier ship emerged from old Earth's orbit. Its hull was charred. Its signal burned through every firewall we had. A voice, old, human, familiar. "My name is Alandra Wu. If you're hearing this, Earth is gone." Then silence. Not a sound, not even static. We traced the source. Earth's surface is ash. Its core still burns. There are no cities, no oceans, only a spire, 12 kilometers tall, piercing the stratosphere, and at its base, etched in obsidian. We spoke. They answered. We regret nothing. We stood in silence. Not in mourning, but in respect. We watched their fleets rebuild, watched alliances form in shadows. We waited, because Earth's final command wasn't vengeance. It was patience. Let them gather, let them believe, let them forget the fear, then remind them. A lone probe entered council space. One word pulsed from its core, "Now." And across 50 systems, buried Terran fleets activated. Black ships uncloaked, satellites lit like stars, whispers turned to screams. This wasn't a war, this was recollection. We didn't strike first, but we would strike last. The rebuilt Galactic Tribunal never saw us coming. We cloaked a planet-sized war corps just beyond their moons. They thought we'd come to talk. We came to a conclusion. The speech began. 1,000 delegates, 50 banners. Then our signal pulsed. The entire atmosphere is ionized. Their words turned to glass. Only one survivor remained. The one species that once sheltered Earth's last refugees. We spared them, because they remembered, and remembrance was our only law. On the ruined moon of Delas Prime, our engineers activated Project Vanta. Not a missile, not a bomb. A broadcast. It emitted a frequency that deleted neural memory of any event involving Earth. One pulse, and entire empires forgot we ever existed. Except, they began to see ghosts. Dead systems they couldn't explain. Battle wreckage with no logs. Voices in their dreams. Who are the ones we forgot? Some clawed at their minds trying to remember. Others worshipped the silence, and a few joined us. Memory is not just a weapon. It's a faith. Near the event horizon of the Nullwell black hole, we discovered it. A being not made of flesh or code. It had no name, only a frequency. The Council had worshipped it in secret, fed it lives, fed it earth, and now it woke. It called itself the Preserver of Balance. It offered peace, offered to erase the war, make it as if none of this happened. Some of our own hesitated, but I answered, Earth remembers. That is enough. We fired, and the black hole screamed. Balance was broken. Just before the stars flickered out around Nullwell, we received a signal. Not from a ship, not from a planet, from beneath the void. A voice older than galaxies. You are not the first to burn the stars to be heard. Then static. We decoded the signal. It contained a map to a place that doesn't exist, a blind spot in every sensor array, a silence within the silence. We are going there because Earth always searched. Even in ruin, even in vengeance, we were always explorers. And now we may discover why we truly returned. The map led us beyond mapped space. Past the reach of tachyon drives, we folded through a tear in spacetime left by something older than light, and found a construct, impossibly vast. A Dyson shell, blacker than quantum shadow. No stars, no time, only a signal. Humanity was never lost, only hidden. Inside, we saw ourselves. Ancient versions, future echoes, memories that hadn't happened yet. Time bent inward. Our ships began to fracture, not break, but multiply. One crew, infinite outcomes. Every decision Earth had ever made played at once. This was not a prison. It was a mirror. The construct spoke in pulses. It was us, what Earth became after the collapse. A last echo encoded into subspace. A failsafe designed not to destroy the galaxy but to remind it. We weren't vengeance. We were memory weaponized. Humanity didn't vanish. We became the silence itself. And now the galaxy heard it. Empires fell without missiles. Species wept without knowing why. Children dreamt of blue skies they had never seen. The universe remembered. And once memory takes root, resistance is useless. We returned not to win, but to remind them we were always watching. The construct asked us one final question, not with words, but with futures. One where Earth returns to rule. One where Earth erases itself. One where Earth becomes a myth. We chose none. We chose a fourth path. We broadcast the choice to the galaxy. Let them decide what we become. The stars trembled. Some praised us as gods. Others declared war again. And a few, a very few, chose to follow. Not out of fear, but out of respect. We opened the silence and waited, because Earth's final strength was never in its weapons. It was in its offer. From the ruins of old empires came ships, not as invaders, not as tribute, but as seekers. Species once enemies arrived bearing artifacts, songs, and blood. They had remembered, or wanted to. We gave them passage, through the mirror, into Earth's forgotten vault. They walked through memory, and came out changed. A new alliance was formed, not a council, not an empire, a choir, built on shared loss, shared silence, and the song that rose from it shook the stars. We did not lead it. We simply lit the first note and stood back, letting the galaxy, finally, speak. We returned to Sul, the cradle, the wound. Earth itself, restored, not rebuilt. We kept it quiet, a sanctuary for those who remembered. We never broadcast its location again. Only one message remains, drifting through the void. If you are lost, come home. And so we wait, not as conquerors, not as ghosts, but as memory, as a myth. We are the silence between wars, the whisper before rebellion, the shadow under tyranny. We are humanity, and no matter how far the stars stretch, we leave the light on. The end. Thank you for watching AstroMyths. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi tales, cosmic mysteries, and mind-bending myths. And if you like this story, or have a myth, mystery, or galaxy you'd like us to explore, drop your ideas in the comments. We're always listening. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your mind open to the unknown.